What is up, YouTube? This is your girl, the Lion Queen, coming back at you with part 3 of our last Airbender review. This is our final review of this movie. Today, you get my thoughts and opinions on the movie and how I felt towards it. I'll even be ranking the movie in this order here. There will be a card at the end of the movie for you to vote. So, with that out of the way, let's get to our video. Okay, so let me give you my thoughts on this movie. I did not like it. This was not an Avatar The Last Airbender movie. This movie to me seemed like something a college student that did 1 year of film school and came out and was like, I know what to do. I know the guy who plays Jasper from Twilight. You guys are my friends. Let's make a movie and we'll do it right. And we could just sell it in the back alley somewhere. But I don't think this was movie theater worthy. I think that he just looked at it and was like, I can make money off of this, so let me try. I really feel like that was what he was doing. I think that 5% that he's gotten on Rotten Tomatoes is accurate. I wouldn't give it below just because of the fact that it is Last Airbender, and there's certain things in there like the Zhao scene and the dancing men. Okay, we can do that. But everything else, like the editing was bad. He's had movies that has had lower budgets. Like you really could have done so much more with this, but you didn't. You decided, okay, there's a fan base. We got Jasper from Twilight. We hopping on the end of this Twilight van. Let's do this and make some money. That was your whole thing. And the fact that you came and said that it's just the fact that Americans don't understand your style. You don't have a style. This is not yours. This was a show. This is not yours. So how is it that we understand? It's just the fact that you did not understand. That was really it. But instead you're gonna say Americans didn't understand your style? No. No, because look at what you gave us. Like, you can't tell me that you honestly, as a seasoned director, thought that this was a good idea. There's no way I could take that answer from you because you knew better. You can make it work. Why? Why? I didn't like it. He could have done so much more with this movie and so much more with the CGI. He didn't have known actors. He had Jasper from Twilight. And I mean, I don't know if anybody else, maybe the other actors were known, but they were not that well known. What was the effects? You couldn't get people who knew how to act? I mean, I can understand. You chose the boy who did Aang because he could do the movements. Okay, perfect. Great job for that one. But what was up with Katara? What was up with Sokka? Why? There was no need for this movie to be this bad. You just making Sokka into Sokka would have made it better, and that probably would have boosted you up to at least a 10% because you would have had Sokka right, but you didn't, and you're gonna blame the audience? We're the ones that you're selling it to. You can't blame the people who are consuming what you gave them. That's just simple as that. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about the names. This is the worst part of the movie for me because I am a fan of the show. Okay, so first I want to talk about Soka. Why? If you'd watched season 1, you would have seen in the exact place that you ended, which was the Northern Water Tribe, Yue's fiance called him Soka as a way to insult him, as a way to dig at him. And so what does he do? He called him Soka because that is not his name. You literally named your character an insult. You insulted him and made him be called that throughout the entire movie. Why? Because you felt like you wanted to be culturally sensitive? Because this was an Asian movie? If that was the case, get Asian actors. Get Asian actors to play Asian characters, and guess what? You could leave the names alone. This show is a big deal. Everybody loves this show. But you want it to seem like you were being culturally sensitive. If that's the case, don't whitewash because that's not being sensitive. That's being extremely like disrespectful, especially towards them. And then the only words you change are the main characters' names and the main character's title. That's the only thing you change. You don't change the way that they say their lines. You don't change words because I can guarantee you they might say Avatar, even though I'm pretty sure it's said differently, but they might say Avatar. But I can guarantee you they're not going to walk up and say, "Are you the?" That is not, that is English. Why wouldn't you just use Asian actors to put an Asian accent to the American words that are being used in your movie? Like, why would you whitewash them? If you so called thought that you were doing a good job, you like this, why didn't you do it? And then you did Sokka, and yes, I'm not calling them by those stupid names. I'm gonna call them by their names. Sokka, you only got that guy to play Sokka because you were trying to hop on the tail end of the Twilight and was like, hey, let's pull in that crowd too. There was no need for this. This show was so good that it is top on Netflix. Netflix is actually gonna make a movie out of this. Something that came out in 2005. We're now in 2020. Your movie came out in 2010. We're in 2020 and they're like, hey, not only are we going to add your movie and we're going to add the show, but we're going to make our own remake of the show. It is such a good show that you screwed up and then you have the audacity to say that it was our fault. No, because we were fans of the show. As long as you had done it right, you would have seen it. There was no you. This was not yours because you did not make this. This was made by other people in a television form. But you chose to do this your way. There was no reason to do this because this was not your movie. You did not create the characters, you did not create the world. There was no purpose for all of this change. There was no purpose for you to even miss the main things that you needed to move forward. Why were things changed? There was no point for that. But I'm getting off topic. I am sorry. But now I want to talk to you about era. Why is it era? Why? You could like Iroh, that was not going to work. I mean, it was an Asian actor, and he introduced himself. He said Iroh. Clearly, this is not an Asian speaking world. I mean, to our eyes, because Uncle Iroh was speaking English with an Asian accent. Clearly, the translation that we were listening to of the show was a translation. They're Asian, they speak another language. So that was a translation of what was being said. So why era? And why Avatar? And more importantly, why Ong? Why? You literally could have left it alone. You were not being culturally sensitive. To change the names, being culturally sensitive does not count if you're sitting here looking at it and was like, you know what? If I change the names, I can prove that I'm sensitive. No, no, not at all. That's disrespectful because that's the only thing you change just because you know that this is an Asian movie or Asian show. No, that was very disrespectful. I think. I mean, maybe other people disagree with me. Maybe they were okay with the name change. I was not. Please say Aang. Aang. That's all I'm at. You can leave it Soka. You can leave it Hero. You can leave it Avatar. Just say Aang. That's all I want. Because either way, you're not being culturally sensitive to just change names but use white people. You're not. So please, just say Aang. Please. Okay, so now we're going to do the ratings. As you can see here, we have our rating system. this is how everything will be rated. This is how everything will be shown. Whenever I do my reviews, my second or third, depending on how much I have to say for it. But on that final day, the second or third day of talking about the movie, we will do our ratings. I will put in my first vote both here and in the poll that I will have linked up here. And from that, we will go and see what everyone else thinks, if they agree with my vote, or did you pick anything else from the list? I'll come back in our following video and I'll let you know who won. So let's get to it. I rate this movie a 1. I would give it a 2 or a 3 for the simple fact that I love the show and I don't want to be disrespectful to the show. But we can burn this movie, be rid of it, have it nowhere near our future kids, our kids, have it near anything, have it even near the internet. We don't need to have it near anything. We can burn this movie so long as we keep the show. And I can guarantee you this show's gonna be around for a good minute. So keep the show, burn the movie, and I'm happy. This movie has no place in civilized world. M. Night Shyamalan has lost my faith. He does not have me on his side. I see his name and now I'm going to question if the movie's going to be any good. Because how can you mess up a movie that was previously a show? You have references. You don't have to go to the drawing board. All you have to do is watch a show. But no, you decided that you would take already established characters and do this to them. Why? I mean, even the intro that you did that I praised you on for putting in there, upon second glance, the words behind the benders is not real Chinese. I don't even know what it is. At least the show put the actual words behind them so that we could see it. Whether we knew what they were saying or not, it was real. You didn't even take the time to put real words behind them, but yet you have the nerve to say that we were the problem, but you didn't even have time to find the Chinese word for fire, air, water, earth. Those are simple words. You could have just found that, put it behind them, and that was it. But instead, you decided to draw or whatever brought this upon us. You didn't care. It is not our fault that you did not care. It is not our fault that you thought that the fan base would be so stupid that we would just run out and watch this just because it says Last Airbender. Why would you do this? Why wouldn't you take the time to look into it, survey, find out what people love about the show, and put that into your movie? Because if you had done any sort of research, you would have found out that there were people who wanted more from the show to the point that they came out with the comic book to give you more from the show. But no, you decided not only am I going to take this from the show and put it in my movie and everybody's going to be happy with it, you decided I'm going to take this from the show, put it in the movie, and change things about it. I mean, you even changed Haru. Haru is a child. Yes, I'm saying his name. I learned his name. But Haru is a child. Okay. But he did. Haru, the reason we cheered for him, the reason that Katara was willing to go to jail for him was because she got him locked up. You just made it so that the Fire Nation just like, okay, if you're a bender, we're locking you up. Why would they do that? No. They had to put Katara in there because they thought she was an earthbender. Not because she was bending water, she was an earthbender. So with that, this earthbender in here, we're gonna break her. Katara yelling at these people, he knew that they were not gonna jump up. But for them to get all of these people, including Sokka, who again does not have powers. He does not have the gift. He is just a normal guy. You're telling me that Sokka not bending is what got him locked up. Or are you saying that they were just like, okay, you're with them, so clearly we're gonna lock you up? No, because that goes against what we learned, which was as long as you're not a bender, you can live on the outside. So they should have seen. I mean, And if that was the case, they should have tested instead of just throwing them in there. That was literally just for plot. You could have had them meet up with Haru, and instead of it just being Katara who talks him into bending the rocks off of somebody, have all of them do it, which would explain Sokka getting locked up because he assisted in this guy earthbending. He does not. They don't want him out there. That would have been a reason. They literally just got locked up because some kid came up to them and Katara in water. And they didn't put her in cuffs and take away Haru. They didn't. That didn't happen. And then Aang started airbending, and then they put him in cuffs too. No, they just was like, okay, we saw her do water, so clearly all of them must be with her. We're gonna lock all of you up. There was no point to this. And then what was the point to this scene? The whole point to the scene in the show was to show Katara determination to help people, to show pretty much to show the earthbending for one, and to show, just like I said in the bad, that Katara pushes for what she believes. She does not just stand there and say, "Oh, this happened. I'm helpless. What can I do?" No, Katara stands there and she says, "This is happening. This is what I'm doing. Let's go for it." There's no in between those. So there was a reason for her to get locked up because we got to see that in Katara, she does not think, she acts. She thinks of the plans. Yes, she is very smart. She does think of the plans, but she does not sit there and think, okay, so if I get locked up too, no one decides to fight, then I'm stuck in jail. Aang has to bust me out, which gives away our cover. No, Katara said, he was arrested. It was my fault. I'm going in. How will I get out? I don't know. Have Appa on standby, I guess. She had a plan, but she knew that her plan overall was to get them out. How to get them to Appa? No clue. Because she didn't even know where she was going. But she knew that she needed to get in there and get this done. This Katara, she's locked up just because. And then Aang is giving this speech, which works because we have not established that in Katara. She is not the reason that they are in there. Well, she is, but the whole reason they're in there is because they found out the bending, not because she planned to be in there. But I just didn't like that at all. Like the six-man dance group was funny, it was great, but there was no point to this scene. Even when they say at the end, let's just fly around and help the rest of the Earth Kingdom and get rid of the Fire Nation. That was a great thing, but it was like a montage of them helping them. Where did they grow from this? We don't see Aang learning in his ability. We don't see Katara doing anything in her ability. I don't even think we see Sokka doing anything. It was like, this was just filler. Because it doesn't show that they are the type to help people because we don't see them helping people. We see Fire Nation flying everywhere. But this was just this one place. Give us more. You've given us nothing. Where, how did they grow from this? What did this teach them? That the Fire Nation is bad? They already knew that to the point that Sokka sees Aang coming up in the iceberg and says, Katara, it might get back. It might be a Fire Nation trick. They know the Fire Nation is bad. So this does no growth for Aang. None. He was the one that gave the speech. He had nothing to learn from this. We literally could have left this whole thing out and just had them to show up on Kyoshi Island, get the water scroll if that's how they're gonna get the water scroll, and then peace out. Okay, we fight with the Fire Nation. Could have left it with Zuko and them setting stuff on fire. You don't need CGI to have people run around with torches setting stuff on fire. You really don't. So I don't understand. That was not good at all. I really want to give this movie a higher rating. It hurts me to give it this one because the show was so good. The comics are good. But this movie, this movie was nowhere near decent. It was just a way for a man to make money. It was a man that had dollar signs for eyes, and he took that and thought that he was watching a movie. When in reality, the whole hour and I think it's 34 something, the whole hour and something minutes, he's standing there watching dollar signs. He's not watching the movie. He didn't watch what he did. There's no way he could have. Because if he did, he would have seen how horrible this movie is. And if he was watching it, he never watched the show. There's no way you can tell me this man watched the show. There was no heart. There was no love. There was no care. And I'm not saying for the show. There was none of that from him for this movie. If you hated the show and honestly just sat there and saw dollar signs, put your heart into it. Make sure that you get your money. Don't don't just sit there and bank on people to run to see the movie just because the movie is there. The only way that that would be helpful is if this was book three. That's the way that this would have worked because you have nothing to come back from. Everybody wants to see how this ends. You can make it as crappy as you want. Why? Because everybody's gonna come. Because even with the bad reviews, we need to know how does this end. We need to see the final fight. That is when you do crap like this, where you're just looking at the dollar signs, not the first movie and then blame it on other people. No. Well, that's going to do it for today. I thank you guys for watching. I would love it for you guys to vote. Do you think that this movie is good? Do you think that this movie is bad? Because, like I said, the movie did get a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes. So, are you part of that 5%? Are you a part of everybody else who said no? That's going to do it for today, and I'll see you guys next week.